Have you ever wondered what it takes to live to 100? Not just reaching that milestone birthday, but arriving there with your health, happiness, and independence still intact? It's a question that fascinates many of us as we age, and today, we're going to explore the surprising answers that come from those who've actually achieved this remarkable feat. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos from SolidSeniors. If you enjoy this video, please type "solid" in the comments. If you don't like it, type "liquid" to let me know so I can make better videos for you. What makes this topic so fascinating is that centenarians, people who've lived to 100 or beyond, aren't as rare as they once were. In fact, they're the fastest growing age group in many developed countries. But what's truly remarkable isn't just their longevity, but the quality of life many of them enjoy well into their 10th decade and beyond. Scientists and researchers have been studying these exceptional individuals for decades, looking for patterns and commonalities that might explain their extraordinary longevity. What they've discovered might surprise you. It's not just about good genes, though those certainly play a role. It's about specific habits and approaches to life that appear consistently among those who reach this milestone age with their vitality intact. Today, we'll explore 8 key habits that centenarians around the world share, practical approaches to daily living that may contribute to not just a longer life, but a healthier and more fulfilling one. These aren't complicated medical interventions or expensive treatments. They're simple, sustainable practices that anyone can incorporate, regardless of their current age or circumstances. Let's start with perhaps the most fundamental habit of centenarians: they maintain consistent, moderate physical activity throughout their lives. Notice I didn't say they're all marathon runners or gym enthusiasts. What researchers have found is that centenarians typically engage in regular, natural movement that's integrated into their daily routines rather than structured exercise programs. In the famous blue zones, regions of the world with the highest concentrations of centenarians, people don't separate exercise from daily life. They walk to visit friends or run errands. They tend gardens well into their 90s. They engage in gentle, purposeful movement throughout the day rather than being sedentary most of the time with occasional intense workouts. Take Sardinia, Italy, for example, home to one of the world's highest concentrations of male centenarians. These men were typically shepherds who walked miles daily across hilly terrain well into their elder years. They weren't trying to get their steps in, they were simply living in a way that required regular, moderate exertion. Or consider Okinawa, Japan, where many centenarians practice traditional gardening well into their 90s and beyond. This activity provides gentle, varied movement, connection with nature, and fresh food, a combination that nourishes both body and spirit. The lesson here isn't that we all need to become shepherds or farmers, but rather that consistent, moderate activity integrated naturally into daily life appears more beneficial for longevity than the modern pattern of prolonged sitting punctuated by occasional intense exercise. Finding ways to move naturally throughout your day, walking instead of driving when possible, taking stairs, gardening, dancing, or playing with grandchildren, may contribute more to longevity than formal exercise programs. What's particularly encouraging about this habit is that it's never too late to start. Studies show that beginning a program of moderate physical activity even in your 70s or 80s can significantly improve health outcomes and extend life expectancy. The key is choosing activities you genuinely enjoy so they become a natural, sustainable part of your routine rather than a dreaded chore. The second habit shared by centenarians worldwide is their approach to eating, specifically, eating mindfully and moderately. Across the blue zones and among centenarians studied elsewhere, researchers consistently observe that these long-lived individuals aren't following complicated diet plans or counting calories. Instead, they practice simple, traditional eating patterns that naturally promote health and longevity. One common practice is what researchers call hara hachi biyu, a Confucian teaching followed in Okinawa that instructs people to eat until they're about 80% full, not completely stuffed. This simple habit prevents overeating and allows the body to process food more efficiently. Many centenarians report naturally eating less as they age, listening to their bodies rather than cleaning their plates out of habit. Another consistent pattern is that centenarians typically eat their largest meal earlier in the day, not in the evening. This aligns with our natural circadian rhythms and gives the body time to digest properly before sleep. Many report having a substantial breakfast or lunch and then a much lighter dinner, often several hours before bedtime. Plant-based foods dominate centenarians' diets, though few are strict vegetarians. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and legumes form the foundation of their meals, with meat typically used as a small side dish or flavoring rather than the centerpiece. In Sardinia, for instance, the traditional diet includes abundant vegetables, whole grain bread, beans, and modest amounts of locally produced cheese and wine, with meat reserved primarily for special occasions. What's notably absent from most centenarians' diets is processed food. They typically eat whole foods prepared simply at home, not pre-packaged items with long lists of ingredients. This doesn't mean elaborate cooking. Many centenarian diets are remarkably simple, focusing on fresh, seasonal ingredients prepared with basic methods. The third habit of centenarians is one that might surprise you: they maintain a sense of purpose throughout their lives. In Okinawa, this concept is called ikigai, a reason to wake up in the morning. In Nicoya, Costa Rica, it's plan de vida. Regardless of what it's called, having a clear sense of purpose and meaning appears consistently among those who live to 100 and beyond. Research shows that people with a strong sense of purpose have lower rates of heart disease, stroke, and cognitive decline. They tend to be more resilient in the face of stress and recover more quickly from illness or injury. Perhaps most importantly, they report higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction regardless of their circumstances. For many centenarians, purpose comes from contributing to their families and communities. They remain engaged in meaningful roles, as advisors, caregivers, storytellers, or keepers of traditional knowledge. They feel needed and valued, which provides powerful motivation to remain active and engaged with life. What's particularly interesting is that many centenarians find new or expanded purpose after traditional retirement age. Rather than withdrawing from productive activity, they often redirect their energies toward family, community service, creative pursuits, or mentoring younger generations. This continued engagement seems to provide both psychological benefits and practical reasons to maintain physical and cognitive function. The key insight here is that longevity isn't just about adding years to life, it's about maintaining meaning and purpose throughout those years. As you consider your own longevity journey, reflect on what gives your life meaning now and what might provide purpose in the decades ahead. Cultivating interests, relationships, and contributions that transcend paid employment creates a foundation for meaningful longevity. The fourth habit shared by centenarians worldwide is their approach to stress. It's not that these long-lived individuals never experience stress. Life brings challenges to everyone. Rather, it's how they respond to stress that sets them apart. Centenarians typically have effective, often culturally embedded practices for managing stress and preventing it from becoming chronic. In Okinawa, many centenarians practice a form of ancestral remembrance each day, taking time to honor those who came before them. This practice provides perspective, reminding them that life's current challenges are part of a larger continuum. In Ikaria, Greece, another blue zone, afternoon naps are a cultural institution, providing daily restoration that helps prevent stress accumulation. Across cultures, centenarians often share an attitude of acceptance toward life's difficulties. They don't waste energy fighting against unchangeable circumstances but instead focus on what they can control. This doesn't mean passive resignation, rather, it's a practical wisdom that conserves emotional and physical resources for matters where they can make a difference. Many centenarians also practice some form of mindfulness, though they might not use that term. Whether through prayer, meditation, time in nature, or simply moments of quiet reflection, they regularly disconnect from daily concerns and connect with something larger than themselves. These practices help regulate the nervous system and prevent the chronic stress response that contributes to many age-related diseases. What's particularly instructive is how centenarians integrate stress management into daily life rather than treating it as a separate activity. The Sardinian tradition of evening walks with friends, the Costa Rican practice of listening to music while shelling corn, the Japanese custom of tending garden, these activities naturally combine social connection, gentle movement, and mindful focus in ways that regulate stress response. The fifth habit of centenarians is perhaps the most consistently documented across studies: they maintain strong social connections throughout life. In every blue zone and among centenarians worldwide, close relationships with family, friends, and community appear fundamental to exceptional longevity. Research confirms that social isolation is as dangerous to health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, while strong social ties correlate with lower rates of heart disease, stroke, dementia, and even infectious diseases. The immune system functions more effectively when we feel securely connected to others, and recovery from illness or injury happens more quickly with social support. What's notable about centenarians' social connections is their multi-generational nature. Unlike the age-segregated living common in many modern societies, centenarians typically remain integrated with younger generations. They live with or near family members, participate in community activities that span age groups, and maintain meaningful roles that connect them with people of various ages. In Okinawa, the tradition of moai, lifelong circles of friends who support each other through life's challenges, provides a structure for enduring social connection. Some moai have been meeting for 97 years, with members supporting each other through war, economic hardship, personal losses, and health challenges. This consistent social support creates a safety net that buffers against life's inevitable difficulties. Family connections are particularly important among centenarians. In Sardinia and Nicoya, multi-generational households are common, with grandparents playing active roles in family life. Even when living separately, frequent family gatherings and regular communication maintain these vital connections. The sense of belonging and being needed provides powerful motivation to maintain health and engagement with life. What can we learn from this? While modern living arrangements and geographic mobility may make centenarians' traditional social patterns challenging to replicate exactly, the principle remains valid. Investing in close relationships and community connections pays dividends for longevity. Prioritizing time with loved ones, maintaining friendships through life transitions, and finding ways to contribute to community all build the social capital that supports exceptional longevity. The sixth habit shared by many centenarians is their relationship with nature. Across blue zones and among centenarians studied elsewhere, regular interaction with the natural world appears consistently in their daily routines. Whether tending gardens, walking in natural settings, or simply sitting outdoors, these long-lived individuals maintain connection with nature throughout their lives. Research increasingly confirms the health benefits of nature exposure. Time in natural environments reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, improves immune function, and enhances mood. Even brief nature interactions, what the Japanese call forest bathing, produce measurable physiological benefits that accumulate over time. For many centenarians, nature connection comes through gardening, an activity that combines multiple longevity-promoting elements: moderate physical activity, fresh air and sunlight, mindful focus, nutritious food production, and often social interaction. In Okinawa, most centenarians maintain small vegetable gardens well into their 90s, providing both physical activity and fresh produce for their primarily plant-based diets. Beyond the physical benefits, nature connection seems to provide psychological nourishment that contributes to centenarians' characteristic resilience and positive outlook. Many report that time outdoors helps maintain perspective on life's challenges and connects them to something larger than themselves, a sense of continuity and belonging in the natural world. The seventh habit of centenarians involves their approach to sleep and rest. While sleep needs vary individually, studies of centenarians reveal consistent patterns that support optimal recovery and rejuvenation. Rather than fighting against natural circadian rhythms, these long-lived individuals typically align their rest patterns with the natural cycles of day and night. Many centenarians report going to bed relatively early and rising with or before the sun. This pattern maximizes exposure to morning light, which helps regulate circadian rhythms and supports healthy production of melatonin and other sleep-related hormones. They typically sleep 7 to 8 hours nightly, with many also practicing some form of midday rest, whether a full siesta as in Mediterranean regions or a brief period of quiet relaxation. What's particularly instructive is centenarians' attitude toward sleep. Rather than viewing it as lost productive time or something to minimize, they recognize rest as essential to health and give it appropriate priority. They create bedtime routines that support quality sleep, often including practices like evening walks, light reading, or quiet conversation rather than screen time or stimulating activities. Many centenarians also practice what sleep researchers call sleep hygiene without consciously thinking about it. Their bedrooms are typically cool, dark, and quiet. They avoid caffeine later in the day and finish eating several hours before bedtime. Their daily physical activity and time outdoors contribute to sleep quality, creating a virtuous cycle of activity and recovery. The eighth habit shared by many centenarians is perhaps the most intangible but equally important: they maintain positive attitudes toward aging itself. Rather than viewing growing older as a process of inevitable decline and loss, centenarians typically see aging as a natural progression that brings its own gifts and opportunities alongside its challenges. In cultures with high concentrations of centenarians, older adults are respected for their wisdom and experience. Their roles may change with age, but their value to family and community remains unquestioned. This cultural context supports positive age beliefs, which research shows can add years to life. In one landmark study, people with positive perceptions of aging lived an average of 7.5 years longer than those with negative age beliefs, even controlling for other factors. Many centenarians express gratitude for their long lives rather than complaints about age-related limitations. They focus on what they can still do rather than what they've lost, adapting activities to changing abilities rather than abandoning them entirely. This adaptive approach allows continued engagement with valued activities despite the physical changes that inevitably come with advanced age. Humor and playfulness also appear frequently among centenarians. Many maintain a childlike curiosity and willingness to try new things well into their 90s and beyond. They laugh easily and don't take themselves too seriously, qualities that support both psychological well-being and social connection. Perhaps most importantly, centenarians typically maintain a forward orientation, continuing to anticipate future experiences, set goals, and make plans regardless of their age. This future-focused mindset provides motivation to maintain health and engagement with life, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of continued vitality. Now that we've explored these 8 habits of centenarians, you might be wondering how to apply these insights to your own life, regardless of your current age. The good news is that it's never too late to adopt habits that support longevity and well-being. Research shows that lifestyle changes can have significant impacts on health outcomes even when begun in your 70s, 80s, or beyond. Let's consider how to translate each of these centenarian habits into practical strategies for modern life. We'll start with physical activity. While you might not be herding sheep across Sardinian hillsides, you can incorporate natural movement throughout your day. Look for opportunities to walk instead of drive, take stairs instead of elevators, or garden instead of hiring landscape services. Consider activities that combine social connection with movement, dancing, walking with friends, or playing with grandchildren. The key is consistency rather than intensity. Aim for movement that leaves you energized rather than exhausted, and that you genuinely enjoy rather than endure. Remember that household activities like cooking, cleaning, and yard work also count as physical activity when done with engagement rather than rushed through as chores to complete. For the second habit, mindful, moderate eating, consider adopting the Hara Hachi Biyu principle of eating until about 80% full. This simple practice alone can transform your relationship with food. Try putting your fork down between bites, eating without distractions like television, and paying attention to your body's hunger and fullness signals. Experiment with shifting your eating pattern to make breakfast or lunch your largest meal, with a lighter dinner earlier in the evening. Gradually increase the proportion of plant foods in your diet, vegetables, fruits, beans, whole grains, while reducing processed foods and treating meat as a side dish rather than the main event. These changes need not be abrupt or absolute. Small, sustainable shifts over time align your eating pattern more closely with Centenarians' traditional diets. For the third habit, maintaining purpose, reflect on what gives your life meaning now and what might provide purpose in the years ahead. If you're approaching or in retirement, consider how your skills and wisdom might benefit others. Volunteering, mentoring, creative pursuits, community involvement, or deeper engagement with family can all provide the sense of being needed and valued that centenarians maintain throughout their lives. Remember that purpose often evolves rather than remaining static. The activities that provided meaning in your 60s might shift by your 80s, but the underlying sense of having something meaningful to contribute can remain constant. Be open to discovering new sources of purpose as life circumstances change. For stress management, the fourth habit, consider what practices help you return to equilibrium when life becomes challenging. This might be formal meditation, prayer, time in nature, creative expression, or physical activity. The key is regular practice, not just during crises but as part of daily life, so these skills are well developed when you need them most. Also consider how you might build natural stress buffers into your daily routine, perhaps an afternoon rest period, a morning quiet time, or an evening wind-down ritual. These boundaries help prevent stress accumulation and support the nervous system's natural recovery processes. For social connection, the fifth habit, quality matters more than quantity. Research suggests that having 3 to 5 close relationships provides significant health benefits. Invest time and energy in nurturing these core connections, whether with family members, longtime friends, or newer relationships that have depth and meaning. Look for opportunities to expand your social network across generations. Volunteer with youth organizations, take classes where you'll meet people of various ages, or participate in community activities that naturally bring together diverse age groups. These intergenerational connections provide the rich social fabric that supports centenarians' well-being. For nature connection, the sixth habit, even small, regular doses provide benefits. If mobility limitations make outdoor activities challenging, consider container gardening on a porch or balcony, sitting near windows with natural views, or bringing nature indoors through plants, natural materials, or even nature videos, which research shows provide some of the same benefits as direct exposure. For those with more mobility, daily walks in natural settings, gardening, bird watching, or simply sitting outdoors regularly can provide the nature connection that centenarians maintain throughout their lives. The key is regularity rather than occasional grand nature experiences. For sleep and rest, the seventh habit, consider how you might align your patterns more closely with natural light cycles. Exposure to morning sunlight helps regulate circadian rhythms, while reducing blue light from screens in the evening supports natural melatonin production. Creating a consistent sleep schedule and bedtime routine signals your body that it's time for rest. If cultural norms or work schedules make midday rest challenging, even a brief period of quiet relaxation, 10 to 15 minutes of sitting quietly with eyes closed, can provide some of the rejuvenating benefits of the traditional siesta practiced in many blue zones. For positive attitudes toward aging, the eighth habit, become conscious of the age beliefs you've absorbed from culture and media. Challenge negative stereotypes about aging by seeking out examples of vibrant, engaged older adults who defy limiting expectations. Consider how you talk about your own aging process, focusing on gains and adaptations rather than losses and limitations. Cultivate relationships with people of all ages who hold positive views of aging. Their perspective can help counter the ageist messages prevalent in many modern societies. Also consider how you might create or participate in traditions that honor the wisdom and contribution of older adults, similar to the respect accorded to elders in blue zone communities. As you consider incorporating these centenarian habits into your life, remember that small, consistent changes often prove more sustainable than dramatic overhauls. Look for natural connection points between these habits. For instance, walking with friends in a park combines physical activity, social connection, and nature exposure in one activity. Gardening integrates movement, nature connection, stress reduction, and often produces healthy food for mindful eating. It's also worth noting that these habits support each other in creating an upward spiral of well-being. Better sleep improves stress management. Regular physical activity enhances sleep quality. Social connection provides motivation for purposeful activity. Positive age beliefs support continued engagement with meaningful pursuits. Each positive change makes others more accessible. While genetics certainly play a role in exceptional longevity, research suggests that genes account for only about 20 to 30% of our lifespan. The remaining 70 to 80% is influenced by lifestyle and environment, factors largely within our control. The habits of centenarians provide a roadmap for optimizing these controllable factors, regardless of your genetic inheritance. Perhaps the most encouraging aspect of centenarian research is that these long-lived individuals rarely followed strict regimens or made longevity their explicit goal. Rather, they lived in cultures and communities where longevity-promoting habits were simply part of normal daily life. They walked because that was how people got around. They ate primarily plant foods because that's what was available and affordable. They maintained social connections because their communities valued interdependence. This suggests that creating environments and routines that naturally support these habits may be more effective than trying to maintain them through willpower alone. Consider how you might structure your home, schedule, and social life to make centenarian habits the path of least resistance rather than choices requiring constant conscious effort. Remember too that the goal isn't simply reaching 100, but arriving there with health, purpose, and joy intact. Centenarians teach us that longevity without quality of life isn't the prize. Their example shows that it's possible to live long and live well by embracing habits that nourish body, mind, and spirit throughout the lifespan. What stood out to you the most from our discussion today? Which of these centenarian habits do you already practice, and which ones might you incorporate more fully into your life? We'd love to hear from you, so leave a comment below sharing one thing you learned today and how you plan to bring it into practice in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video from SolidSeniors.